One, two, one, two. This is the one and only Cee Gee in the place to be, representing the Buffalo Kids, one half of Green Giant, and the lead founder of the Bar Association, Beats Off the Rhythm. You're now listening to The Renaissance Show.
All right, so you guys are now tuned in to The Renaissance Show. My name is Alex Kuchma, and I have here with me another very, very special guest. This dude is a producer, a beat maker, the first kind of dedicated beat maker that we had on the show. We had Lucky 7, however, he was kind of handling MC and production duties, but this dude is honestly has produced some of my favorite cuts over the last few years. He's worked with some of your favorite artists, if you're paying attention to this new wave at all. People like West Side Gun, people like Mock Homie, people like El Camino, and if you're fans of the show that we've had on, people like King Ralph and Mizark. This dude's from Buffalo and is just on fire right now, producing some of my favorite cuts from some of my favorite albums. I'm talking to Cee Gee. What's good, my dude?
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? I'm glad to be on the show.
Man, I'm so glad to have you on here as well. I appreciate it. I said this at the beginning of the call, but yeah, man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak to me. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be a good one.
Oh, this is going to be dope, bro.
Man, 100%. So, as I was kind of alluding to there, not only have you produced on some of my favorite artists with some of my favorite artists, or for some of my favorite artists over the last few years, but you produced on some of my favorite albums that they've done, and then you happen to always, it seems like, produce my favorite cuts off of those albums. It's an absolutely incredible run that you've had over the last few years, but I feel like your name is not necessarily known by the kind of wider public as of now. To put some context into this thing, someone like El Camino. So Blockwork by El Camino. El Camino's dropped a number of projects this year, and I'm a big El Camino fan. Blockwork is definitely one of my favorite El Camino projects that he's dropped, and my favorite song off of there happens to be Avenue Thug. No production credits, well, outside of a couple tracks, but not for Avenue Thug. And it wasn't until recently that I found out that you ended up producing that cut, but that's my favorite cut off of that album. And other people that I fuck with, and I'm in groups and we talk about hip hop, we talk about shit like this, and I think that's fairly kind of common that that's people's favorite song off the album, but you ended up producing that. Go to someone like Mizark, for example, and with Stronger Hunger, one of the standout songs off of there. There's a lot of good cuts off of that album, but definitely one of the standouts ends up being Prey vs. Predator with Rick Hyde and King Ralph. And again, you have the production duties on there. It just seems like the songs that you end up producing for these albums, not only are they really high kind of tier quality albums, things like Pray for Haiti or Hitler 7, but you're producing some of the best cuts off of those albums. So to be able to have you on here and be able to go through some of these details with you, man, it's an honor. It's an honor.
Oh, likewise, man. I just been like, I'm kind of like one of those like anonymous guy of the music shit, like, because I could do some dope beats, but like they knew my name and all, but they didn't, or the sound, but they never know my face, and then how I have a conversation about what I do.
Man, let's talk about that, because as I said, like something like Blockwork, I think it's a shame that a lot of those production credits are not listed on there. I know for things like Hitler 7 and Pray for Haiti, there are production credits available online, and you do end up getting your kind of respect in that fashion. But regardless, you've done production on these high tier quality albums with some of the best artists in this game, and I don't feel like your name really enters the conversation in terms of producers that people have to be looking out for. But not only are you doing these one-off beats off these albums, but you're putting out your own work as well. If you look on Spotify, for example, you have multiple projects under your belt, these producer compilation albums that you've put together. And I haven't checked out everything, but something like that just came out, the CeeGeeOlogy Deluxe, based off of the CeeGeeOlogy original album that came out earlier in the year. It's a really, really solid body of work, and you have a lot of the names on there that you're going to be familiar with just from this scene. People like Mizark, people in that kind of greater Griselda clique are featured on this album. and a bunch of up-and-coming dudes as well. You've been putting in this work, you've been producing some of the best songs off of some of the best albums, but for whatever reason, your name hasn't really entered that conversation. I guess my question to you, if anything, is let's talk about that a little bit, but why? Why do you think that is?
Well, because that, I feel like I'm still like a rookie of this music shit. Because ever since like 2 years ago when I did the Broadway Joes, they still kind of like 2 years ago when I did the Broadway Joes for What's Like Gun,
Hitler 7,
that was like a more like a they know the music, but they never know who did this. Like I had to remind them, everywhere I go that because people in my city kind of knew what I did, but when I go out in the public to different towns, I gotta let them know that what I do, because it was more important, me going to interviews and in a podcast, to try and let them know that what I've done in the past, because I've been producing for last since 12 years. This past this like a couple of weeks ago, it's been 12 years because I made my first beat in 09, and I didn't start I was started making beats around like a little bit like years later, and then I was doing my own work since I started coming around Buffalo scene in 2014, and then own projects since then. And then once 2019, that was when people were starting talking about me getting into talking about who is this dude, and then I didn't get a chance because when Brahma Jones was starting naming myself, and then also I put out my second album, Classical Gifted, 2-3 months after. This is 2019 and 2020 last year.
Yeah.
And then I didn't get a chance because when COVID kind of took over, it kind of fucked up my buzz, my opportunity, to show myself in the public, and that kind of public. I had to do everything on my own, and then I put a lot of that's why I put I had a lot of beats that I did that that no one ever heard or never really got a process, because I've been doing my own projects, and then I did a full length project with the guys, because I'm also a part of the because I'm one half of because I did a full project with the I did 2 Green Giant project with Foot the Giant. You can look up, and then Genesis proper the video games, which is which you can find those 2 albums at the Spotify.
Gotcha. So yeah, you've been active over the last few years, but in terms of kind of getting your name out, it doesn't seem like it's. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's picked up enough steam as it should, right? Like something like Hitler 7 is such a classic album. Like that Times Square's Billboard has been up for I don't know how long, but I think it's at this point I've heard that it's one of the longest running billboards in Times Square. Like it's a big name to your discography, to your kind of credits, to your resume. Yet again, your name just doesn't really enter that circulation. And the song like Broadway Jones is dope. Like it's like again a contender for one of the better songs off of that album, in my opinion. And you end up doing the beat for that. Talk about that, because you mentioned that song now a few times in this conversation so far, and I have a feeling it's probably one of the bigger names that you've worked with, and one of the better credits to your name. How do you even go about getting on something like that? Like, I feel like Westside Gunn is such a curator and has such a vision for his albums and his sound, and I feel like it's the kind of internalized community that he's really fucking with, that he gets together and creates these albums, almost like a Conway West situation. But you end up getting a spot on there. And I know you're from Buffalo. I know you have that connection. But how did you end up getting a placement on something like Hitler 7?
Well, like you said, that, me, I've been knowing Wes since 2014, late 2014. This is when he was putting out, he was putting out the third installment of the Hitler series,
Gotcha.
and then like I was approaching to do beats. That was the same time I met Conway, and I already met Derringer, at the time, because I was brand new to the scene at that point, and then I was approaching to do beats by that time. But then, like I said before, I was, they were about to be new to the game outside of Buffalo, and then I was brand new to in the Buffalo on the music scene. So I just kind of waited for a couple. I just kind of waited like a couple years, trying to get to know them and also be a fan to them, and then see the word. I'll get to the music when the time is right. So so 2019 it was like a standard year for me, and then like I did the beat like 20 like in the middle of the year. This is when Benny just put out the Plugs I Met around that time. I did that beat a day before the joint came out, and then like I didn't have any thoughts about who would I send this joint to, and for some reason that like like around a week after 4th of July, Wes was in town because he had a release party, a day release party at some club in Buffalo downtown. This is what at the time that he was put out the Fly God, the Awesome God, the first one.
Yeah.
And then he was, and then like and then I can't, I celebrate the, I was celebrated his success and all and shit, and then,
of course.
And then, I can't, then my good friend, my homegirl of mine, she recommended me to do some beats for Wes or Kyle and Benny because I've been supporting them so heavy, and so I love every time a lot of it is just that people been talking about, why I haven't done any music with them. And so it was just like timing. But, I had beats I've been doing for quite a little while, but then like, I pulled them, I pulled Weston on the side, like, I got some joints I'm going to send. So next day I send that beat to like, out of that package, it wasn't called Brother Joe's Den. It was like a number, beat, something numbers. And I kind of like, cause like, I said it, and then like, and then a couple of days later, he hit me up, and I was in the middle playing my video games at the time, and and I didn't want to. So he talks about what he chose, and I just like leave it to be, cause at that time I wasn't even. That song came together when I wasn't even on a creative mood. Creative mood because because I was going through a lot of shit that personally, and then also creatively, because and then I was working on my second album at the time, and then that song was already done. Like after I said it, and then this is before he meet up with Hov. The day that him and his cousin Benny signed the Rock Nation.
Yeah, what a big move. But so you end up getting this on there, and at the time you say you're not really career oriented, right? You're in kind of a slump personally, and you get this placement on Hitler 7. You see the success that Westside and Griselda as a whole, that family is getting. Does that kind of spark that energy again to kind of focus back on your career?
That, and then like, that, and because I wasn't as sure at the end of the time, and then like, I was working on a classical gifted. Then also I was doing Green Giant 2 and Prophet the Venom games with my guys, Fridge Giant and Genesis, which respectively around the same time, and then around the same time, and then like, cause it was all recorded during then, cause like I wasn't getting like shows, and then I was getting like shows, but it was like it was a lot of like things that kind of go left, and then unless I was just kind of focused on me. And then the next time I saw, the next time I saw Wes, like, it was close to where Wes was putting together was putting together like this back to school giveaway. And I went to one of the store. This is prior to him having his own store at the mall, which we'll get to that. And
kids, yeah.
He then I say what's up and all, and then that was also the day that he had his own day in Buffalo.
West Side Gun Day, yeah.
Yep, and also that day I heard the song for the first time.
Broadway Jones.
Yeah, I heard the song for the first time, and then that was when that was at the time, because I heard it through the phone, and then soon that as soon as I heard it, it's like, I don't know. As soon as I heard it, it's like I think I'm on it. I think I was on to something, and then nobody knew. Then I kept this whole thing to myself for the last, because I heard it since August, and then he kind of announced the next Hitler, which is like 2 years ago this month, which is October, and then he announced he put out the cover, and when I found out that I was going to be on it, and I was at work. I was at my job at the time, and I was just coming back. I was just coming back from like coming back from my break, or going to be back on my break. I scrolled down. I seen my name on the caption. I'm like, wait a minute, what's it? And I saw. I'm like, I was like, that shit got me like.
Celebrate tonight, yeah. Pour a drink to that.
And
one.
Also, this was like a Halloween weekend.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is a Halloween, because that was the day that his this was a Halloween weekend when we put and I was just like I thought I was about to leave my job, and then I was about to leave my job, and then like that was also a day that Benny he had a show in Buffalo.
Yeah.
This is when I went up going there, to celebrate, and then this is a Halloween weekend, and I found he put up Wes put up the list on the day that his cousin the show, and then I was hyped up that I was on, and not only that, it kind of had confidence in myself that I can do this, and that kind of allows me to that, and then the day after Halloween it came out, it was just like it confidently getting back to my groove, because I was going, because I was about to quit.
Yeah.
Like I was about to quit for this shit, but then like, because I was having a little frustration, like outside, because not like while I was doing the song, but not because it was a song, because I was going through a lot of shit, like personally, and then through the scene, and at the time, and then that was when like when I did the Robert Jones, the song that came out, that it allows me to fit in, and now it's like people want to know what's next to me, and that's when I put out my second album, like in the beginning of 2020.
Yeah, when you end up making that beat originally and you send it over and you send them a few beats to pick from, were you making those beats specifically for West Side Gun?
Not exactly, because I was just like, because the way I make beats, it was just kind of like what I heard, or just something that or it was just something that I kind of like because whether it's from, because basically I was just making this something that whoever needs to hear, because at the time I was, like I said, I was working on my second album, and also I'm in a group called Green Giant, like whether it's that whether my partner Frigid, wants to hear something, and also with Genesis, he want to hear something too, because because I'm also, those are my guys. I never had anybody else that who I can think like without Wes, because I didn't even I never had it in mind, but then like it just came out, it just put together organically.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I listen to a beat like that and it just speaks West Side Gun to me. Like if you fast forward a little bit in time, you look at something like George Bondo, for example. I think that came off of Pray for Paris. And the similarities between like something like what you end up doing for Hitler's 7 and something like that, like you can tell that West feels that type of groove and identifies with it to a degree. Like he sounds so good off of that type of production, and that's something that I've really picked up on from yourself. Like I think one of the coolest things about being a producer or beat maker in general is the idea that you get to make beats. You get to take your favorite artists and develop a sound that you think they would sound good on. I think that's one of the coolest things. Like some of my favorite artists, I have like an idea of like, oh man, wouldn't that sound really dope? Wouldn't this artist sound really dope over this style of instrumental? And you're able to kind of curate that for it. And as I said, the production credits that you have to your name, they happen to be some of my favorite cuts from those individual artists. Not only is the shit that you did with West Side Gun, I feel like really just fit in his pocket, but we extend it to something like Avenue Thug by El Camino. And I keep going back to this song, but Avenue Thug is like, it's some of the best El Camino shit ever. And I'm a huge El Camino fan. I have all of his albums. I listen to him constantly. I like his shit a lot. But Avenue Thug is like the perfect beat for El Camino. Like that's what I want from El Camino over and over and over again. Like I want a whole album that's in that same vein with El Camino. I listen to something like Mizark's album and Prey vs. Predator just stands out. Like that's the type of beat that I want from Mizark. And what's interesting is all three of those beats that we've talked about, let it be with Mizark, let it be with El Camino, let it be with West Side Gun, they sound drastically different, right? It's not like you're producing the same type of sound for every artist that you work with. You're producing something that feels like it's catered to that specific artist, and it happens to just work really, really well with those specific artists every time. To think that something like the West Side Gun beat wasn't necessarily specifically made for West blows my mind. Like it really does feel like these beats are being catered to, because again, it doesn't necessarily feel like you're producing your sound. It feels like you're trying to produce their sound. And I admire that so much. I think that's like one of the coolest things that you could do as a producer is do that. I'm not a producer. I'm not a beat maker. I bought an MPC maybe 5-6 years ago. And I tried to get into it to some degree. As a hip hop head, I don't know, you want to try these different things at different points in your life. At least I have, let it be writing or producing or what have you. But, and I was no good at it, but that was the reason why I got into it, is because, man, like I would love to be able to cater some of my favorite artists to instrumentals that I think they would sound good on. And I don't know, when it comes to your career, I think you're like the epitome of that in my books. Like I love the shit that you've been doing on these albums, but it's crazy to me to think that you're not necessarily catering these beats to these artists. Was that just the case for West Side Gun, or is that also the case for someone like El Camino, for example? Like when you make Avenue Thug and you make that instrumental, what's your game plan there? Like, are you just sending him a bunch of beats that you've already done for other projects, let it be the group project endeavor that you're in, or various other things, or are you actually catering something like that beat to El Camino? Is that like a standard process you do?
Well, when the thing with El Camino, like, you know, I met Camino since like 2016, because like this is when because he was one of the guys that this Local is when right? A couple years out. What?
He was in a group called Local Residents, is that right?
He was
he's on Camino at that point in time, right?
Well, he's on the project, but he was one of the guys named Don, at the time he was Don Scuzz, but now he's Don Zombie. The World's crew at the time.
Okay.
And then at the time, and then he was rolling with him and another homies, and then I met him like when he was around the scene, and then once he was starting like link up with Wes and Conway. This is during when Fly God albums, the Fly God run in 2016, and then I'm interested. I met him and I'm interested to do music with him, and then about like we was thinking about linking up before, but we never had it. Like this is when like he was part of Griselda at the time, at that time, and then once he was having he was having trouble, like he was going he was having some kind of petty legal problems a couple of years ago, and then he was having able to travel, go to tour with them, and then he was always like just working, and then he always just working and cooking some like songs. And I think this is when he like 2019, like he just did like 2 projects at the time. And this is when Don't Eat the Fruit came out, and then later him and DJ Shay did the whole tape together, and then and then when he asked me to do the beats, this is when he was working on El Camino 2, which I was originally supposed to be for part of the project. This is before I did shit with Wes, and because I was asked to be part of the El Camino 2, because I sent him some joints, and then I had one I did that it wasn't finished, and then I didn't make it to the cut, and it didn't make it to the cut. Because the tape came out shortly after the Hitler 7 did.
El Camino 2.
Did, and then
okay.
I did end up on the El Camino 2. So when around the time that like I was just going, because I travel back and forth to New York City like every now and then, and around the time like this is during when the height of me going, the height of the Hitler 7, and also I was promoting my album, my second album at the time. I ran into El Camino. He told me that he'll send me the pack. And I was like, sure, because because I sent him a pack before during when I was in the New York City, because he was on to something, and me and him were supposed to do a project together,
like a whole album together.
Yep.
Oh man, that would have been amazing. So when you send him, him that pack for El Camino 2, is Avenue Thug on that? Like the beat that became Avenue Thug? No. Okay.
No, I didn't make that beat. I didn't make that beat. No, that beat was not made during that time.
Gotcha. Okay, so
when he recorded, because like that was like later. I did that. I think I did that like beat around like toward the end of 2019.
So what came of that project that you were supposed to work with for El Camino, like that El Camino Cee Gee project? What came of that?
Well, it was supposed, at the time he was just like, because he was doing a project with him Camouflage Monk, and he was with Camouflage Monk at the time. He was just doing a joint with this dude, him and DJ M80 at the time. He was just like cooking some shit, and then because I sent out a bunch of like packs, and then I just sent out like a bunch of the packs, and then like it was some of was like recorded and some of was in the stash, and then that was when like I think that, and then because like this is dark, and then once because I was and then I was like I was about like with this El Camino and myself project also, but then when COVID kind of took over, and then all this shit that kind of shift away the plan, and then some of this project would end up on some of the songs got floating on a different project and all, and I don't know, it was authorized by him or somebody around his circle, and then of course that like and also he was his push, and also he was so heavy heavy pushing on his merch by this time, and then
Sure.
a little bit less on the music, and then a little music, and then also he was kind of a little bit down because he just lost somebody in his family.
Yeah,
and
of course.
during last year, and then the same month that DJ Shay passed. The same month that
I didn't know it was the same month,
passed.
but I knew of both of those events, and yeah, rest in peace, DJ Shay, and condolences to El Camino's family as well.
Yeah, this was like August, and I was like, because I was ready to just get back on the work, and then I was just like getting back to the work, and then that was when like so I kind of doing a lot of work, and then like I ended up getting back in the studio with him. Got back in the studio with him, and I went to his old house that he used to be at. That was the first day I met King Ralph.
Oh shit! Okay.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, that was the first time. That was the first time I didn't know he had a brother though.
Okay, when you met King Ralph, did you immediately know that he rhymed, or was he not really in that pocket yet?
Well, I didn't know he was I didn't know he rhymed because I wasn't even sure, because the times I was in the shows, he was never around though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because all the time I've been going like, when he was rolling with Wes and Benny and them, like he was, I never saw him like in the scene.
That's fair.
While for the scene, and then now that he kind of like when I saw when I was in the studio when it was just lay down the tracks I did, that was like my introduction to King Ralph.
Man, I'm over here almost like salivating over the idea of you producing an entire album for El Camino, especially if it was in that same sort of vein as what we ended up seeing for your work for Blockwork. That album alone is amazing, and I think that beat also fits the project. Like, I think there's a cohesive theme when it comes to Blockwork, and I do think that fits, but it happens to stand out still among the pile of beats of being one of the better songs off of there, at least in my opinion. I think Bucket Hat ends up being a great song too. I think Skit is a great song. I think it's pretty much stacked with excellence, but Avenue Thug is fantastic. I would absolutely love if that collaboration between you two started to kind of resurface and you revisit that idea of doing an album with the dude, because that would be amazing. It would yeah, man, that would be probably one of my favorite El Camino projects of all time. If
I'm definitely like it works though. I mean, I just like the bro got to like because then I got like other shit that in the stash that it never put out yet.
He puts out so much material, right? Like, I have Devil's Due up here that he ended up doing with Tricky Trips. That was a Goodfellas exclusive vinyl release, and he has Let There Be Light coming out. It was supposed to drop October 1st, but it seems like every month you end up getting a new El Camino album. He just does so much work. It's like, it's hard to fathom how it's even possible in order to write that much and be that prolific, and everything that you end up doing also be of such a high tier and high quality. So it's almost odd to say like, oh man, I want more El Camino material because we've already gotten so much. And it's also hard to ever justify like, oh yeah, you should do an album with El Camino because he probably has so much shit on his plate. But at the same time, he's clearly able to put out these albums over and over and over again, and not just like recycle ideas either. Like, I guess content wise it is fairly one-dimensional, but you do have those kind of slices of substance on there that are unique, and there's still like creative writing ideas that are explored on these albums. His discography is one of the best, and the fact that he just has so much out to his name, like if you include shit like the Moonbap EP that he put out that's digital only, and then some of the Michi El Camino stuff and the stuff he did with Local Residents and some of the stuff that just doesn't have vinyl releases, the dude has like 25 albums out. and they're all quality. It's not like he's been rhyming since 95. The dude's recent, right? Like if you count like the early shit that he did before he was El Camino, the dude's only like been putting out actual like music since what, 2015 maybe? Like within just a few years he's
like
dropped
20,
so
yeah,
much.
One of those stuff.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely incredible. But I would love to see a project surface with you two. Kind of moving forward to some of your material. So you end up putting out CeeGeeOlogy earlier in the year, and just recently, over the last couple weeks, end up putting out CeeGeeOlogy Deluxe. Talk about that decision actually to make a deluxe edition of this album, because really the deluxe edition has an additional 6 songs. It has an additional 20 minutes worth of material, like 19 and a half minutes worth of material off of there. And in this new wave, that's an album. Like most people, if they have 20 minutes worth of material and it's cohesive and it sounds together, they're going to end up releasing that as a separate project. But you made a choice in order to tack this onto a pre-existing album and basically re-release that original album. Talk about that decision about doing that, because I do think that's fairly interesting. Like the album CeeGeeOlogy, I've listened to that as a standalone project, and I've listened to it as the deluxe edition, and both work. But CeeGeeOlogy does work as an album. I don't think it necessarily needs a deluxe variant. Why make the deluxe rather than using those 6 songs, that 20 minutes worth of material, and just making another album?
Well, that decision started when it was over to the feature that I had on the album. Because it was one guy, GQ. Like I don't know if you listen to. He was a roster from Knife Wonder General Records.
Okay.
Yeah, he's part of the roster of Jamila Records of that's Knife Wonder's label.
Gotcha.
And he was starting. If you listen to some of the Rhapsody's projects and some of the Knife Wonder, he's on there. Like, and then like he was starting doing requesting. He was starting doing the requesting of feature requests to anybody that wanted to collab with him, and then I had an idea. I had an idea to me to do a song, but originally I wanted to add him on the actual album, but soon I was reached out to him and trying to the order to get the budget right. I had to and also the timeline was was so restrictive because I put it out because I put it out with May because May is my birthday month.
Gotcha. Okay.
May is my birthday month, and I decided to my birthday month. Okay, if I because I did send the budget to him, and then to lock it in. But I don't know. I wasn't even sure how long I'll get the verse on time.
Yeah.
Just before the actual album comes out. So okay, I made my decision to do the deluxe.
Yeah.
One time.
You have to draw that line somewhere, right? Like if you're accepting submissions, especially as a producer album where you're relying on these other people to input verses, you have to draw those deadlines somewhere, right? Like you can't just wait forever for these people. Not saying that the dude was taking like exorbitantly long time or anything. Obviously he delivered his verse eventually, but that must be a process that you learn, right? You have to make a deadline and just stick to it.
Yeah. And then, so I made my decision I'll get that opportunity and also I finally have opportunity since July, around July or August, because this is when I'm still pushing my album, and then I still got the idea to do the deluxe because around that I was having an idea because it was very easy to put the deluxe. I had songs I had that was supposed to be for other projects, but then then I was going to come up with, I was debating on whether I wanted an EP or doing like a deluxe. So I just like, so I just like, maybe I could just put it, smash it all together and just make it the deluxe edition, and then kind of like, you know, me getting to, and then one of the songs that I recorded just for the EP, somebody asked me when I'm gonna put this out, because this is when like summer was about to come to an end, and then we're now getting the fall. I was like, okay, like Columbus Day, I'll just put it out on the picture, because Columbus is my real name, and then it makes sense that, because I put out my album on my birthday, and I put the deluxe edition on my unofficial holiday.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's a good way of doing it.
So that's why, yeah.
I really, really enjoy this album. I think it's a solid body of work as a producer album. Like I said, I never checked out the previous albums that you ended up doing, but there's one. I think this project can be enjoyed on multiple ways. One, I think the music is just dope. I think as a listen from beginning to end, I think this work really kind of sits on its own as a solid, like I said, body of work. And I think it's a good listening experience from beginning to end. I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to an album like this, not necessarily because of your name, because I don't think that your name has entered those conversations, even though I do think you deserve that conversation. I think your name should be in there, especially with some of the credits that you've done, but I still don't feel like the community has really embraced you, and I hope that happens more and more as time goes on. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be attracted to this album because of people like Jay Skis, people like Tony Boy, people like Kinetic Nine, people like Mizark, people that they're already familiar with that are putting out this material, and they're being attracted to those new artists, or those artists that they're already familiar with. But then you have a whole slew of cast on here that I personally had never even heard of. Not only did I like not really go down the rabbit hole and check out their solo material, but I hadn't even heard the names in a lot of cases. And as I was going through, I was like, oh man, this dude's really dope. And I had never heard this dude before. I need to go and do my homework and write down these names. And then the next song will come on. It's like, oh, here's another dude that I never heard of. This album is like, it's like a discovery pool. Like there's so much room to explore listening to an album like this, and I love it. Like the music is good, but also the names off of here that you've curated. Talk about, I guess, getting some of the names. Like I guess some of the bigger names make sense. So people like Kinetic Nine or Jay Skis, these are going to be people that you're reaching out to or that you have a relationship with. These are solidified names. But when it comes to a lot of, I don't want to call them no names because I feel like it's derogatory and they deserve a lot more than that. But people that at least I hadn't heard of, or people that maybe don't have the audience that a lot of the other names have, or that kind of name recognition that a lot of the other dudes have. How are you curating who gets onto a project like this? I know you're in Buffalo. Are these just Buffalo cats that haven't necessarily popped off yet, or where are you getting a lot of these artists?
Well, it's all started like, so CeeGeeOlogy is the third installment of the album, man. Also, this is a trilogy too, because this goes back to what I did the research, which is my first album, and okay. like most of the majority of the artists I link up is from Buffalo, and I kind of like it because it all started when, like, you know, because I started getting the Buffalo scene in 2014, and I wanted to see who was like active or who was like the best talented guys in the in the city. And then, it was just like, and then I wanted to start producing them, but then at the same time, I wanted like when I did the classical, the research, that was like the beginning of like, not only it was like beginning of, in the music scene, but also people want to get to know me.
Yeah,
know me musically is mostly. So that's when like the research came together, and I just like I had like guys that you never heard of who's had an experience before or never really experienced. So I just like, okay, let me just like put it. I had this idea since since I was started in the scene because we come from the era like a lot of producers that can do their own albums and now our albums, and then and I was like, you know what? Let me just get into it on the Buffalo way, and then I did that on the research, and then I kind of followed along with the second album, Classical Gifted. It's the same thing, but I kind of did a different way. That's when I had I had Tony Boy on my album, I had Jamarcus Saul on the album, I had Ricardo on my album too.
Yeah, I seen that.
And then Sleeps in Nashville, who was not from Buffalo, and Magnum Garcia. That I had some Rochester guys, Barbaric and the Alvarez on there too as well. That was because I was trying me just not just focus on Buffalo, just trying focus on other states too. So that's when kind of just trying to find who was dope or who was talented, especially with a good relationship too. And then me, just try and put the good story about about what I represent in life and in the career wise, even the name titles that they don't even it match the songs or get the details. And then when the third album came around, that was that was a easy as a simplest project I put together and also it took me about a year to put together too.
Wow! So not only did it take a year, but you were utilizing a lot of the same formats anyhow that you had kind of established already in a lot of the same artists. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me to even know that the majority of the artists that are on here are Buffalo cats. I talk about Buffalo a lot, and I think Buffalo is definitely in kind of the heart or center of this new wave in a lot of cases. Obviously Griselda is Griselda. They are the kind of pinnacle of this new wave or new renaissance that we're experiencing. And obviously they're from Buffalo, but as you go through this and you explore and you get introduced to more and more artists, it's absolutely phenomenal to me that Buffalo has this much talent that just went unnoticed until now. Not only is it Griselda, not only is it their affiliated camps, let it be the greater Griselda roster at this point, or things like Drumwork or Black Soprano Family, but then you have cats like yourself and this album just introducing a whole slew of other cats that are also from Buffalo that are doing great things. Buffalo is absolutely on fire right now, and it's great to be able to explore the city with so much depth and use albums like yours almost as you named your first album The Research, and almost as a research opportunity to learn more about the city in a lot of ways, and at the same time to learn more about yourself and who you are as a producer, because that's what attracted me to this album. I didn't know any of the cats that were on here. I didn't know that they were Buffalo guys, right? I asked you the question because I didn't know. But when it comes to, my experience with this album, I listened to it because I've seen your name now on these albums that I love. But knowing that there's just so much research opportunities available with a project like this is stellar. The city is just producing artist after artist after artist, and they all appear to be dope. So many of these names off of here I walked away from saying, wow, I need to go do my homework and I need to check out this dude. And it's just, man, this Renaissance movement that we're in right now, it's crazy. I don't think I've ever been this excited about hip hop music.
We definitely came this far though.
Yeah,
that's what I say though.
Yeah, the Buffalo thing is mental to me. I do a lot of research on Canadian hip hop, and with that research, I'm looking at communities that for the most part, have went unrecognized. Sure, places like Toronto have had a history with people like Citizen Kane and Ghetto Concept and the Circle and all these acts in Toronto that have gotten kind of loved by the diehard hip-hop community and hip-hop heads. But at the same time, there's cities like Saskatoon, for example, that have just went completely overlooked, and they produce talent after talent after talent. People like Epic and Chaps and So and all these cats that are coming out of Saskatoon, and I'm sitting here like doing my homework and kind of absorbing that city as much as I can. But I guess I kind of feel similar in a way as from Saskatoon to Buffalo, but I feel like Buffalo just ends up being magnified tenfold by like orders of magnitude, I feel like, in terms of the amount of material that's coming out of the city. And you guys are all seeing success at this point, like to varying degrees. Obviously, there's Griselda at the top, and then there's people that are seeing less success. But I feel like the door is unlocked at this point in order for the city to really flourish. And for a lot of these cats that have came up in the city that are talented and are producing great art, the city is now kind of on the map to the point where people are able to tune in and explore that art and become familiar with a lot of those lesser known names. I thank you for contributing to that, not only contributing yourself, but in terms of the art that you've produced, but also contributing that same sort of ethos in terms of research and exploration and trying to rep your city to some degree and put on a lot of these names. Because this album, to me, I enjoy this album on multiple fronts. I enjoy this album as a Cee Gee production album in terms of identifying you and figuring out who you are as a beat maker and as an artist. I enjoy this album as, I get to hear some of my favorite artists on this shit, but I really do enjoy this album as just like an exploration tool and a research tool. And what this album really stands for, I think, is a kind of a mixture of those three things. But I walk away enjoying all of them, and as an album as a whole, I couldn't recommend something like this enough, especially to people that are tapped into this movement and this scene. I think there's something for everyone to get out of something like this. At least if you're tapped into this movement already. If you don't like rap music or whatever, I wouldn't recommend this album. But if you're tapped into this scene to some degree, there's something for you on this album, and I think it's worth checking out because of that.
It's definitely like it's definitely one of those joints that you just like that you could just listen to.
Man, there was a name off
I just don't.
Go on.
I mean, it's something that I make music that's something that you can just listen to, not something that you just. It's one of those like, cause I make beats that's more of those like something you can vibe to, or something like the mood music. That's what I kind of like. That's what my production I do.
Yeah, 100%. It's 100% mood music, and it's like bangers. It's like anthems, like that song with Kinetic Nine and Jay Skis. Like that's a banger. And there's multiple songs like that off the album. But there's also albums that just kind of fit this kind of groove and the soul to a degree that really end up standing out as well. This album shows diversity in a lot of ways, and I do think of it as almost a compilation album in a sense. It's maybe it sacrifices cohesion in a way, but it makes up for it in just a diverse kind of array of sounds that all happen to be dope in their own way. And again, it introduces people to you and what you're capable of. Because again, we were having this conversation earlier, but your beat for West Side Gun, for Hitler 7, your beat for Pray for Haiti by Makami, your beat for Blockwork by El Camino, they're drastically different from one another. And then look at something like Predator, completely different. This album also highlights that.
And also, let me add something that you let me add something that you didn't know what I did.
What's that?
In between Hitler 7 and Play for Haiti, I produced. I was involved in the soundtrack.
Yes, you were the Conflicted soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
What did you end up doing off of there? I seen that on your Instagram post of
Uh,
production credits that you had done, but I didn't check it out and see what you ended up doing. But what did you do off the Conflicted
uh,
soundtrack?
I did the almost the last song of the album, Mission Accomplishment.
Mission Accomplishment. I have to revisit that album and revisit that song particularly, but yes, I did see that on your production credits. Like, man, like I said, you've been tapped into this scene and contributing sounds to some of these projects that people are absolutely loving, and like great pieces of art. And you just happen to, every time I visit one of these projects, you happen to have like one of my favorite beats off of there. It's absolutely incredible. There's an artist that's off of CeeGeeOlogy and actually off of the deluxe variant of it. It's one of the 6 songs that are tacked on to the end. And actually, there's a female MC, a woman, and there's a couple different women on off of on the album. But this one particular is Big Steph. I had never heard of her. But the way that she was able to kind of blend storytelling and just kind of bar heavy rhymes, I really, really enjoyed her verse off of there. And that's not to take away from anyone else off of the album, but that was definitely someone that I took away from, not knowing anything about her. Don't really know where to start in terms of learning more about her, but I definitely walked away from this album saying she is one of the names that I want to know about. Again, as a research tool, that's one of the aspects that I really took away from this album as a whole. But who is Big Steph? Can you talk a little bit about her and how you ended up finding her, put her on the album? What's your relationship with her? Like, who is Big Steph?
Well, Big Steph, Stephanie was also her full name.
Sure.
I met her when she used to go by Miss Ross at the time. Like a couple of years ago, she was rolling with El Biz crew at the time in TMISB. Like she was rolling with them, and then she did a project with them called 5Ps, which was 5 years ago, and then. Once that they did that project, and then they all kind of went in separate ways. Okay. I still kept in touch. I still kept in touch, like for her linking up, and then we did that track we did that track about like a couple of years back, because a couple of years back. I was going to have that on Classical Gifted.
Okay.
Because that was the first. Because that was the first song I recorded for Classical Gifted, and
gotcha. Because the second album, right? So I had her. It's the Research, Classically Gifted, and then CeeGeeOlogy, right? That's the order of things.
Yep.
Okay. So she's off. She's supposed to be on the second album, and what happens there?
Well, what happened was that we were supposed to we were supposed to record a different version to it, and then we never got it, because of our timing, because our schedule is a little bit hectic, and then the dude who record the song, who ended up on the CeeGeeOlogy, name is The Verse. He recorded the track. He recorded the track with her, and we relocated to California.
Oh, okay.
And then I kind of like, and then I ended up kind of like, I was having a little bit I was working on the first Green Giant at the time, and then I was moving around, and then she was like kind of like and then I lost touch with her, and then she took a little time off doing music, and then once that she started resurfing and rebranded herself at who she is, and then now she goes by Big Steph now, and then she relocated to a different city, and then she's about to be and the city, and then I talked to her, and I told her about this collective I'm pushing called Bar Association, which is stand for Beats Off the Rhythm, it's like I need a female MC to I need a female MC that kind of like show the talent. So it's like me and her been kind of like tight for quite for a couple of years. So I was like, so it's like I mean, she the dopest to me. So I just like added to the crew, and in order to add to the crew, it's like I need a song. So I kind of think of the stash, and no one knew that that was an old that's an old record, because a lot of the beats I do, because I had a lot of beats I did. It's like a couple years. It's like a couple years older.
Gotcha. So where is she originally from? You said
like
that she ended up moving cities. Is she originally from Buffalo as well?
Yeah.
Man, it's that's phenomenal. But yeah, like I said, Big Steph was definitely one of the cats that stood out when I listened to this project.
She just getting restarted though. I mean, you're gonna be hearing a lot. You're gonna be hearing a lot more to her. You're gonna be hearing a lot of more to her. And then like not only to her, but also rest of my crew too.
Bar Association. So let's talk about, I guess, Bar Association and broadly what you have coming up. What's coming up in terms of you, Cee Gee, as a producer?
Well, I'm putting out me and this guy named Deuce Ellis. We got a production collaboration album called the Green Era Barrels. The Green Era Barrel, and then like if you you're probably familiar with Deuce Ellis before, right?
Yeah, he's appeared on lots of these albums. I haven't went back and I haven't listened to like a full Deuce Ellis like project, but I've seen his name pop up on a lot of different Cats albums over the last little while. Yeah, he's been super active.
He just put out his own project a couple 3 months ago called Asset, and then he just put out the collaboration joint with him Jamal Gasol called Oxtail.
Oh yeah, he ended up producing that Oxtail album. Yeah, okay. I've listened to that too. That was a solid album. So yeah, he would have produced that.
He did. Man. Yeah, so me and him, we did this album that we're working on. It's gonna be like a production collaboration production, because I was in Brooklyn like 3 months ago, and then we kind of did the whole production, and then I did the drums, and he did the melody, we did the beats. And the thing about that is that we're gonna have big names that I'm not gonna be able to get into, because I want to see how it's gonna come to put together, and then we're gonna have so I definitely I'm definitely looking forward to to see how it's coming together. So that's something that we had it works, and I got me and this guy named Cap Johnson, who was he's a veteran MC from Buffalo that who's been in the game for 20 years. We got a project dropping like next year called the Street Vibe 2, because we put out the first one in 2 years ago, which is on my Bandcamp only, and only as far as team, as far as my placement wise, that I still got some more work with. I still got some more joints with the Griselda, like Independence. What West is got something else coming up, because I send the pack, I send the pack to him, like whatever he's got cooking up. Usually it just kind of like surprised me.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, the West Side Gun thing is really interesting. Like, I know he always says he's retiring at this point, and I know Hitler 8's supposed to be the last in that series, and I feel like it probably is going to be the last. It's the double album. It feels like a finishing mark for that series, but I really hope that he still is putting out more material going forward. Yeah.
He got like I was part of the creative process of it.
Of Hitler 8?
Yeah, because I sent a package. I sent a package to him like almost last year.
And what happened with that?
Because almost last year, because he started announcing around this month, because it was supposed to because the mission those beats, Mission Accomplishment and Marie was supposed to be part of the Hitler 8 package. Because
Wow.
I didn't even know, because I didn't even know that it was supposed. I didn't even know where those beats going to end up, because they were just all cooking up. Because Mission, because the soundtrack was working. Because some of the songs for Hitler 8 and the soundtrack was working at the same time, and the shit with Mark Hamill was later or during then, because this is when Wes and Mock didn't have been connected for years, and then now around the holidays they kind of reconnected, and then they put the Hitler 8. He put the Hitler 8 on hold, and this is when he was started working on put together the store and at the mall.
Buffalo Kids, yeah.
Yeah, and then and also with the how I found about the Pray for Haiti like out of nowhere, because the shit came out the day after CeeGeeOlogy.
Yeah, I had no idea.
CeeGeeOlogy.
Yeah, I had no idea that those projects were being kind of intermingled to any degree. And it kind of makes sense, right? The soundtrack kind of sits on its own. It's almost a compilation of material in a way. But I always envision like at least, well, I think I kind of envision this way for all of West Side Gun projects, but I really do feel like they're like these art projects that have a vision, and everything is being kind of curated in a particular fashion. Of course, not everything ends up getting used from the sessions, but to think that those session materials that don't get used end up elsewhere is really interesting to me. Because again, I think of these projects as these like overall kind of art projects that like the creation process in of itself is like creating a piece of art. Like the curation process that West Side Gun goes through is, I think it's so noteworthy when you look at his career and in the projects that he ends up putting out. They're really treated in that way. So much different than other albums. Like I think like the Donda comparison is very apt and fitting. Like it kind of feels like totally different sound palettes and a different direction that's taken, but it feels like they're approached in a similar way.
Oh yeah. So I had so every time he's working on something, he always reach out to me, and like what like whatever he got started in the works, and because that's right now he's like got shit coming up with like he got shit coming up with Monty Caesar, and then Rome Street. That this is when he's now in Griselda, and then Stove got Cooks that because other things like because whatever he got and wherever he got something else that I'm just like I'm all open, like and the thing is, the craziest thing, we never had a conversation about it.
Man,
me and him never have a conversation. I just let him because the reason why I don't want to have a conversation, because you never know, because I wasn't sure. I'm going that's going to end up on I'm make it or not.
Yeah, fair enough. Like Man, I'm so glad that you're involved in this scene and this community, and that you're engaging with it and contributing sounds to kind of this new wave in a way, right? Like, and even if we just talk about like what's really new, and we talk about like the expansion of the Griselda roster with people that you just mentioned, like Stove God Cooks and Rome Streets. Like I was just listening to that Reasonable Drought today again, and it's such a good album. Like Stove God is such a good addition.
Oh yeah,
I've been a fan of Rome Streets.
I still listen to that shit. I just listened to that shit yesterday on my MP3 player.
Man, it's so good. And like Rome Streets, I've been a fan of. Like I interviewed Rome Streets back in 2019 when he was putting out Noise Candy 2, I want to say. And he was dope then.
Was it 2?
It was
was it 2 or 3?
It was the blue cover where he has the razor blade in his mouth, whatever that is. Maybe it's 3.
I think it's 3.
Okay, so yeah, I interviewed him for Noise Candy 3, and again, I study Canadian hip hop, and I'm writing a book on Canadian hip hop history, and people like Future Wave and Danielson and Ason Eastwood, like this whole clique that's coming out of Toronto that's contributing to the same sound. I'm a fan of those guys, and their collaborations with Rome has been fantastic as well, and that ultimately was a lot of that bridging connections for me. But yeah, like the Future Wave Rome Street shit, both times with not Contraband, but dude, do I have it up here? No, I don't. I forget the name of the first album that they ended up doing together, which is crazy to me. I own it. But and then they have the new album, Razor's Edge, as well. That just came out in 2021 this summer. So I've been tapped into Rome Streets for a while, and to see his addition to the Griselda roster is a beautiful thing, because Rome is just, he's so unique as an MC, and the way he's able to kind of, he's so articulate on the mic, but his verbiage and his sentence structure is so dense. I'm a big Rome Streets fan. Yeah,
I had opportunity. You know what's so crazy? I had opportunity to see him and meet him since like 3 years ago.
Yeah, what happened with that?
Like, well, what happened was, I had opportunity. Well, you know, well, how that come together? Well, Tony Boy, you know, he was putting together so every month that he was putting together those boiler room sessions, boiler room session events that he always do, and I did one of those events. Like it's like
Gotcha.
He always do he do those boiler room sessions every month that, you know, just try to get MCs, whether it's from Buffalo or Rochester or Syracuse, and then in New York City that you know, coming together. But one night, like 3 years ago, it was like it was Deuce Ellis, it was Jamal Gasol, it was Fast Life, it was Rome Street, and then Benny the Butcher was a special guest on that show.
Man,
and Riggs too.
The lineups for these shows are amazing all the time, every time. They're so good.
Yeah,
I wish I was there.
Riggs from the Cloth came through too. So that was my introduction to the Rome. That was my introduction to Rome Streets, and then that kind of like I've been like, cause that was when I was like, you know, I was working my second album at the time, and I want to start linking up with underground cats too. So that was like me seeing him, me click them, you know, me and him got a little bit like been connected since then. And then I've been fucking with his music since then.
I hope that you end up getting some sort of placement on some of this new Rome Streets material. I'd love to see what your sound does to Rome and with Rome, and how that connection ends up unfolding. That would be amazing. I would love to be able to see that happen. We're running short on time in terms of the the actual recording equipment. I don't know if it's going to run out here soon. We're definitely reaching the end, but I wanted to let you plug your shit at the very least. Where can people find you and stay up to date with current CG material?
Instagram, CG, Instagram, CG1990. Twitter, CG520. You can listen to all my stuff for and CG Incorporated Bandcamp.com, and be on the lookout for the anything that me, myself, Buffalo Kids, and Bar Association, which is considered myself, my Green Giant partner, Richard Giant, Genesis, Ms. Art, the R&B sensation salsa artist, and a female MC, Big Stuff. And I got more stuff in the works, and you're gonna hear a lot more from me.
Man, I can't wait. I'm definitely tapped into you as of now. I'll be on the lookout for any new material that you end up putting out there in the world. But for those listening at home, if you made it this far, go do your homework. Check out CeeGeeOlogy. Check out the deluxe edition as well. Go do your homework. Check out things like the research. Check out his back catalog. And just stay on the lookout for current shit. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Twitter. And stay on the lookout. The dude's really, really dope. And I promise you, you've heard his production before. If you're tapped into the scene at all, you've heard shit like Hitler 7. You've heard shit like Pray for Haiti. You've heard shit like Blockwork. You've heard shit like the Conflicted soundtrack. And you've probably loved the songs that this dude has produced. Cee Gee, once again, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And I'd love to have you back on in the future as well whenever you have new material coming out.
Most definitely. Like, I got like, because I do, especially, most definitely. Like once the Green Herb Bros, put together, I want to have like whether it's like Deuce or myself to be on the show though.
Man, 100%. You're always welcome on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak to me now. And yeah, like I said, thank you. Thank you for the art. Thank you for your contributions to this Renaissance movement. And yeah, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Likewise.